This video will contain subjects that some viewers might find disturbing, thus I advise you to skip the whole Nyssa Raatko chapter. So I was browsing the DC Phantom DC database, as I often do because I'm a nerd and I have nothing better to do, and for some strange reason I was looking at a character profile of someone named Nyssa. And yes, I know who Nyssa is, but for the sake of not spoiling the video in the first few seconds, I'm going to pretend I do not know who she is. Believe it or not, the Al Ghul family has one of the biggest families in the DC universe aside of the Bat family, which technically isn't a real family even though it is. But it has members such as Batgirl, Orphan, Spoiler, Clayface, Azrael, Huntress, and many more who have no blood or adoptive relations to the Wayne family. I mean, genuinely, how did Clayface get in there? So the way I'm going to do this is that I'm going to take information from every single era of DC Comics, basically everything from pre-Crisis to the New 52 to Rebirth to whatever we have now. Is it Dawn of DC or do I have some catching up to do? They have had so many things since Rebirth and it's difficult to keep up these days. The Al Ghul family, believe it or not, we are not going to start off the family tree with arguably the most well-known member of the family, Ra's al Ghul, infamous villain of the Batman, because he has parents and without them he would not exist. I present the Al Ghul family tree explained. If you go on to enjoy today's video, a like will be very appreciated, and if you enjoy what you see, you can see more by subscribing to the JustPhantomComics YouTube channel and hit the bell button to never miss another video. And now on to the video. Let us start with the head of the family and father of Ra's al Ghul, the Sensei. The Sensei's real name is unknown. He debuted in Strange Adventures Volume 1 issue 215 in December 1968, created by Neil Adams. The comic also features the first appearance of the Society of Assassins, as we know them today, the League of Shadows. I mean, Assassins. Thank you, Chris Nolan. The Sensei is an aged martial arts master from Hong Kong and the leader of a small faction of Ra's League. We also get a demonstration of the Sensei's martial arts skills as he beats a man into the Shadow Realm with his bare hands despite his old age. Oh yeah, the man he sends to the Shadow Realm is the man who turned Deadman into a ghost. We don't know much about Sensei, but at some point he betrayed Ra's and took full control of the League. In Detective Comics Volume 1 issue 485, Ra's is seen asking Batman for help as he wants to regain full control of the League, but can't as the Sensei has recruited Bronze Tiger, one of the best martial artists in the world, who in the same issue beats Batman quite easily. In Batman the Resurrection of Ra's al Ghul, the Sensei demonstrates his full power on Batman as he absolutely wipes the floor with him. I mean, it's no contest really. It's not often that Batman is beaten so badly. I mean, look at this. It isn't even funny how badly he gets beaten. Luckily for Batman, he gets the upper hand as the Sensei only has stamina enough for 2 minutes. I don't know if it's convenient writing or just plot armor. If it wasn't for the Fountain of Life, Batman would have probably died of his wounds. Sometimes before the fight, the Sensei also reveals that he is the father of Ra's before casually stabbing him in the gut. The man was so fast even Ra's didn't see it coming. The Sensei has extended lifespan as he has access to the Lazarus pit, and through his long life he has mastered the martial arts, which give him enhanced speed and agility. He is also a master swordsman and tactician. If it wasn't for his old age, he would most likely be the single greatest martial artist in the world, rivaled by nobody. Sol, aka Ra al Ghul, which translates to Soul of the Demon, is the newest addition to the family, only debuting as recently as Robin Volume 3, Issue 1 in June 2021, created by Joshua Williamson and Gleb Melnikov. Ra al Ghul was the matriarch of the Al Ghul family, mother to Ra's al Ghul, and the head of the League of Lazarus, a splinter organization of the League that worship a demonic entity that inhabits the Lazarus pit on Lazarus Island. The League of Lazarus was originally a splinter organization formed by Ra's, which sole purpose was to scout places where Lazarus pits could be created. However, Rue would gather her own followers, which would eventually turn the group into a sort of cult. This would cause tension with the League of Assassins and the League of Lazarus. Something called the Lazarus Tournament is a death tournament held every 100 years to find the best fighter so they can sacrifice them to the Lazarus pit to bond with the demon. Their deaths serve as a kind of fuel to recharge the demon. If you thought Ra's was a homicidal crazy ego terrorist, you would be wrong. I mean, you are right, but at least he hid the truth about the demon away and only wants to cut down the Earth's population, not wipe it out completely, with a demon no less. Now, I'm not going to talk about the entire run she features in, so let's just jump ahead to Robin Volume 1, Issue 17, the last appearance of Mara al Ghul. Basically, the demon gets freed and Dr. Batfade has to fight it. And meanwhile, Talia and Damian team up to fight Rue. Talia throws Rue into a deep pit, forcing Damian to grab her hand before she falls. For some reason, she lets go, but not before giving a small grin before falling to her doom. For now, she is presumed dead, but who knows? She is an Al Ghul, they have a knack of coming back. And she is a comic book character, so they don't tend to stay dead unless they are the parents of a superhero. Like most Al Ghuls, she has access to the Lazarus pit, which gives her extended lifespan. But unlike any other Al Ghul, she is the only one who possesses magic through a spellbook. Alright, that's the first generation of Al Ghuls down. Let's move on to the next generation. Ra's al Ghul is without a doubt the most popular of the family, and you know exactly who he is, but we are still going to talk about him. The Demon's Head, better known as Ra's al Ghul, was created by Dennis O'Neil, Neil Adam, and Julius Schwartz and debuted in Batman Volume 1, 232 in June 1971. The first time we see Ra's, she is literally in the Batcave and already knows Batman's secret identity. Well, basically he needs Batman to rescue Talia, who has been kidnapped along with Robin. You know how Ra's is always testing Batman to see if he's worthy? It all comes from this comic. He staged the kidnapping of his own daughter to test Batman to see if he could do it. And well, he did. He considers retiring and wants Batman to take his place. As the investigation proceeds, he goes from calling Batman to calling him Detective, another trademark of Ra's. Ra's al Ghul is a radical eco-terrorist whose life has been extended for many hundred years as a result of the Lazarus pit, in which he discovered. Through his organization, the League of Assassins, he seeks to purify the world of evil through extreme measures, which often puts him in conflict with the Batman, one of the only persons he deems his equal. He even gives his blessing for Batman to marry his daughter Talia al Ghul, who in the same comic we find out is in love with Batman, something that will come into play later. Most of Ra's power comes from his influence as the head of the League. He's a brilliant combatant, having benefits of many lifetimes to train, and he can go toe to toe with the Batman. He is however just bronze, as he possesses brilliant intellect in science and medicine, a profession he was interested in before going off the deep end. He's also well versed in alchemy and the occult. In the comic Batman Birth of the Demon, we learn a little bit of his backstory. He's only referred to as the physician and has a wife named Sora, the first of the three we know of. She unfortunately dies when Ra's resurrects the Sultan's son in the pits, and he comes out as crazy. Before he can place her in the pit, he is dragged away as he is blamed for the heinous act by the Sultan himself after he rescued his son. And the Sultan also proceeds to call his wife Sora a slut because he believes she tried to seduce him. I can't really blame Ra's for turning to the dark side. With a backstory like this, it actually gives us a lot of insight to the character. I mean, just imagine being locked in a tiny cage with your deceased wife in a hole in the ground while being slowly consumed by rats and barely fed. And this was a time close to the Crusades, which took place between 1095 to 1291, give or take. Sticking with the second generation, we move over to Ra's al Ghul's first wife, known as Sora. There isn't much information about Sora out there. I don't even know where she debuted. I just presume she debuted in the one-shot Batman Birth of the Demon in January 1993. I presume she was created by Dennis O'Neil and Norm Breyfogle as they wrote and drew the comic. It is never stated what her profession is, as she is kind of what I like to call an origin character. You know, the people in comics who shape our superheroes and villains. You know, they tend to die and stay dead forever and ever, no matter what the comic book is. As we talked about earlier, the Sultan's son fancies her and he literally forces himself on her right in front of Ra's, her husband. I mean, luckily it's just a kiss, but if she happened to be alone, worse things would have happened. Obviously Ra's and Sora are not pleased, but can't really do anything. She literally calls him a pig, nothing less than he deserves. We already talked about the story, so I'll be quick. When the Sultan's son falls ill, She doesn't really want Raish to succeed, for obvious reasons. She also helps in building the very first Lazarus Pit, which is very significant, as the Lazarus Pit has been seen and used many times in many different mediums. But as you know, she died pretty much right after. Raish wasn't allowed to put her into the pit. Her deceased body was put in a cage along with Raish, pretty much feeding her remains to nature. She seems to possess no special skills or powers. Raish's second wife is unnamed and I can literally find no information about her at all. Maybe I'm a terrible researcher, but if you know a comic she appears in, is named in, or referenced in, please do tell me cause I can't find it. From an unnamed wife to perhaps the most significant woman out of all of them, Melisande al Ghul is the first wife that we know of to bear the surname Al Ghul, and the mother of one Talia al Ghul. She debuted in the one-shot Batman Son of the Demon on August 18th, 1987, created by Mike W. Barr and Jerry Bingham. Melisande was the wife of Ra's al Ghul during the Second World War. With Raish, they took care of their godson, Quinlan, who had been orphaned when the atomic bomb hit the city of Hiroshima in August 6, 1945. As time went on, Quinlan became moody, fatalistic, and obsessed with death. He even demanded to be called Cain, spelled Q-A-U-I-N. Now, I'm not sure how you actually pronounce that, it might be Chinese. And you know Cain, right? The first murderer in history who slayed his brother Abel. You did go to Sunday school, right? And at the time, Melisande was pregnant with Talia and wanted Raish to banish him from their household. He refused. One night, Cain had snuck into Raish's secret room, where he had kept an earlier version of the pit, and Melisande discovered him. He quickly fled, pushing her into the pit, an action that would cost her her life. And young Talia would witness it all. In the New 52 story, Batman Incorporated Volume 2, Issue 2, which retcons the Son of the Demon story for the worse, it shows that Raish met Melisande at a Live 8 concert. Here he manages to reel her in by talking about the hypocrisy of it all, and how the band could easily donate the money themselves. This eventually leads to Melisande giving birth to Talia. At some point in the not too distant future, a young Talia slips away from her guards and meets a fortune teller. Talia lets mention that Al Ghul is the name of her father. The fortune teller then reveals that she is her mother. She wanted access to the pit but was refused. He was allowed to retain his youth while she grew old and ugly. Raish had told Talia that her mother had died in childbirth, which was a lie. Talia's bodyguard, Ubo, then presumably ends her. And in this story, Raish and the Sensei seem to be at odds with each other. The issue itself calls back to the original Detective Comics run, issue 411, where Talia is kidnapped, taken on the train, and saved by Batman while fighting a bull. Let's now move on to the third generation of Al Ghuls. There are 3 of them, and let's start with the youngest and most well-known sibling, Talia al Ghul. Talia is the second of the Al Ghul family to debut in the comic after the Sensei. She debuted in Detective Comics Volume 1, issue 411 in 1971. I think most of us know Talia. She has appeared in everything from comics to animation to live action. Known as the daughter of the demon, Talia al Ghul is sometimes shown to lead the League of Assassins when her father is unavailable. We first see Talia as she is escorted, or rather kidnapped, on a train by Dr. Dark of the League, who had a falling out with Raish. Batman has been after Dark, and when he finally catches up to him, he is ambushed, beaten, and thrown in a cell along with Talia. An unconscious Batman wakes up to the sweet touch of Talia, who has unmasked him due to his bruises. She says he looks familiar but can't quite put a finger on it. Talia reveals that she is the daughter of the demon's head, Ra's al Ghul, and that she was captured by Dr. Dark's men at the University of Cairo, where she was studying medicine. Jumping further into the story, Batman and Talia manage to escape with Dr. Dark. As they prepare to jump to hyperspace, no, I'm just kidding. As they prepare to hop on a train escorting Dr. Dark to the police station, Dr. Dark sprays Batman in the face as he prepares to stab him. Saved in the nick of time, Talia shoots Dark and in a gruesome scene, he falls onto the rails and is squashed by the train. We all know that Talia has the hots for Batman and Batman has the hots for her, sometimes. But we of course know that they have a child together known as Damian Wayne. This puts her in a strange predicament, as she has a son who is a hero with a man she loves who's also a hero, and a father who is a villain. This makes her a very complicated character. On one hand, she is a clear villain, but she also cares for Bruce and her son and doesn't wish them any harm, even though she is part of an eco-terrorist group who often comes in direct conflict with Batman and Robin. Talia al Ghul is the only child of Al Ghul who has two named and known parents. As stated before, she is an Al Ghul, which means she has extended lifespan through the aforementioned Lazarus pit. Like most Al Ghuls, she is highly intelligent and highly skilled in hand-to-hand combat, marksmanship, and swordsmanship. Dusan al Ghul, the White Ghost. Dusan debuted in Batman Annual Volume 1, Issue 26 in October 2007, a comic I cannot find for the life of me. But I think the story is collected in The Resurrection of Ra's al Ghul, which released in May 2008. He was created by Peter Milligan and David Lopez. The first time we see Dusan, he is covered in white robes, talking to Talia about the preparation of Damian to use in a ritual to transfer Ra's al Ghul's consciousness into his body. At this point, we don't know who Dusan is. He has neither revealed his real name or the alias he goes by. He tells Talia she must teach Damian about the life and memories of Ra's al Ghul, as I suspect the more the victim knows about Ra's memory, the more Ra's will remember when he transfers his consciousness into their bodies. Sometimes in the past, circa 1890 give or take, at the Dog and Duck, the White Ghost shows Ra's long lost historical records, which include how Ra's can come back to life even when his body has been torn limb to limb. The White Ghost has been working overtime for his master Ra's, who doesn't know him as his own son by the way, devoting his entire life to the service of a man who cast him away at a young age. Jumping forward, Damian has had enough and decides to confront the White Ghost. But before he can enter the chamber where the ghost is, his guards detain him and refer to him as an it. The ghost also dances around the truth when Talia questions him about the ritual, cause she is concerned with the text saying that Ra's will inhabit the body of the boy. A little twisted translation, the ghost says. It's good to see a Talia that is not of her rocker, like in Batman Bad Blood. She actually cares very much about her son, but yeah, she was deceived. When Talia and Damian go to the Lazarus pit where Damian needs to be unknowingly sacrificed, he's like, nope, not doing this, and knocks out the White Ghost and his guards. Batman shows up just in time to see them wake up. The White Ghost is angry as centuries of planning went down the drain, and he attacks Batman, accidentally falling into the Lazarus pit himself. We don't actually see him again for a decent while in this story. The next time we see the ghost is at Ra's al Ghul's stronghold, where the League has kidnapped Red Robin and Robin, meaning Tim Drake and Damian Wayne. Remember how the White Ghost fell into the Lazarus pit? Yeah, you do, because you are listening and it wasn't that long ago. Before they attack the holy city of Nanda Parbat, he confesses to a statue of the demon's head that, I deliver you, your destiny, master. Though again, he denies me my own. I think he was prepared to sacrifice himself should he fail with Damian, and it is what happens. The mission is all but lost until the White Ghost reveals he is indeed the unwanted and shunned son of Ra's, Dusan al Ghul. Dusan reveals that he is centuries old, and for most of that time he has been a loyal servant to the League, only known as the White Ghost, the loyal family retainer. He also gives us some important exposition where he tells Ra's that his first memory was of his father looking at him with disdain as he was born albino and red-eyed. He was also just conceived to strengthen his hold over some long-extinct people, never loved like he loved Talia or even Nyssa to some extent. That's pretty much the last we see of Dusan before he proceeds to give up his body for Raish to live once again. But yeah, Dusan dies in the process, as the body Raish was inhabiting before the transfer was pretty much a decaying corpse. I think it's quite redundant to say that he has expanded life due to the Lazarus pit. I'm just going to say he possesses all the skills that pretty much every other Al Ghul possesses, unless I state otherwise. Sadly for Dusan, he seems to have only been introduced just to be a sacrificial lamb. In Raish's long life, it's surprising that he has only ever had 3 kids, but the last one we are here to talk about today is Talia's older half-sister, Nyssa Raatko, or Nyssa al Ghul. Nyssa is first seen in the pages of Detective Comics Volume 1, issue 783 in 2003, in the story Death and the Maiden Prologue, created by Greg Rucka and Klaus Janson. The year is 1923 in Paris, France, and Mistress Nyssa is giving birth to a baby boy named Daniel. Later in the day, a mysterious man delivers a letter in Arabic to Nyssa's personal guard. It's a message from the demon's head, and he wants to meet. He has gotten news of Daniel's birth. As expected, she isn't too pleased to give up her son, but she does, however, go to meet him anyway. They talk for a little bit, and Raish says he released her, but Nyssa states that she left, probably meaning the League. When Nyssa refuses to give up her son, Raish's bodyguard Ubu points an umbrella gun at Nyssa like he's some sort of penguin. Nyssa comes prepared though, as she has brought a weapon of her own. She and her bodyguard manage to de-escalate the situation and get home safely. This prologue establishes that Nyssa and Raish have some sort of history, but what it is, we do not learn, and that she doesn't like him very much for some unknown reason. The next related story featuring Nyssa is the follow-up comic Batman Death and the Maidens, a 9-issue limited series from 2003 to 2004. The comic provides us with a nice timeline of Nyssa's life throughout history, so I'm going to present it to you in a primitive, bullet point type of presentation. We start our timeline in Russia 1773. Here Raish meets Nyssa's mother while traveling the Volga River on a visit to the court of Catherine the Great. She was a Jewish peasant from a peasant village. She was seduced by Raish. He eventually took her to St. Petersburg, where Nyssa was born. He left her when he had departed for Persia in 1774. As mentioned before, Nyssa Raatko was born in St. Petersburg in January 1775. In St. Petersburg in 1786, Nyssa's mother dies of tuberculosis, believing one day that Raish would return. Spring 1787, a 12-year-old Nyssa goes searching for her father. She worked her way south, disguised as a boy. In late 1790, she finds her father. In Sudan, 1794, Nyssa is loyal and second in command to Raish, a title most notably held by Talia al Ghul. He helps her attack the city, and together they slaughter many. Here they would build a Lazarus pit near the Qibla. This is also where Nyssa is stabbed and dies for the first time. She is resurrected by Raish and is given her own Lazarus pit. It is also believed that Raish keeps her around for a potential heir. 1809, North Africa, 209 miles east-southeast of Tripoli. She has been with Raish for about 20 years at this point. This is also where she decides to leave, as their vision for the world differ. She is not as cynical as her father and must find her own path. Raish lets her leave, or rather she leaves, and she goes back to Russia. Boston 1833. Nyssa sponsors meetings of William Lloyd Garrison's abolition movement, a global social and political effort to end slavery and the transatlantic slave trade. Paris 1923. Nyssa's son Daniel is born. Nyssa's salon is known for its generosity and support of the arts. Kiev 1925, she gets married to Alexander Ivanovich Gorenko, and her daughter Hanna is born. Jumping ahead to the Second World War, we are in Kiev, September 21st, 1941. The German Nazis invade and burn down the church where Nyssa and her daughter are. Nyssa and her daughter are separated as they are put on trucks ready for the concentration camps. Here it is implied that Nyssa and her daughter are both raped. Ravensbrück, Germany, 1945. Nyssa is a prisoner in the Ravensbrück women's camp. Raish is there as a guard. He has sided with the enemy, the Nazis. However, he sees them as a mere means to an end, as it will make his job easier when he has to carve down the population of the earth. In Kiev, the Nazi soldiers raped her daughters and executed her sons in ditches. Raish has the power to free her, but leaves her there. What I do for the greater good. A sentiment that will be said later on. Nazi doctors are performing experiments on Nyssa without anesthetics. We learn that she has given birth 12 times. However, the Nazi doctors do not believe her and say she can have given birth no more than 3 times, as it conflicts with her perceived age. The doctor injects acid into her womb to prevent future pregnancies to stop her kind from reproducing and weakening the rest. Ravensbrück, Germany, April 30th, 1945. The end of the war is near. Prisoners are marched to their deaths to raise evidence as the Russians close in. Nyssa collapses and is later found by the Russians, but is in bad condition. London, January 19th, 1952. Nyssa spots Ubu from a bus, follows him back to the Ritz Hotel, where she knows Raish is. She wants to kill him, but she can't do it. We learn from Raish that the people who turned Nyssa over to the Nazis were her neighbors, her friends, her community, the people that she helped through charity and philanthropy. Raish justifies his action as he says he did not turn her over to the world. It was the evil of the world, which he has spent centuries combating. They repaid the love with hatred. And sometime between 1941 and 1945, her daughter is killed off, her daughter Hannah. So here's when the timeline starts getting confusing, because when Nyssa and Raish meet at the cafe, in a flashback set 2 years ago, it is stated that the last time they met was over 60 years ago, almost to the day, which could be in Ravensbrück 1945, which seems the most likely, which means that the present day events take place around 2007 if they met at the cafe in 2005. But then later in the story it shows Nyssa and Raish's last meeting at the Ritz Hotel in London 1952. 1952 plus 60 is 2012, and 2012 plus 2 is 2014. So is present day set in 2007 or 2014? Or am I looking into the dates way too much and it's just set in 2003, 2004, give or take 2 years when the actual comic came out? Anyways, let's just assume that the last time they met was in Ravensbrück 1945, which lines up closer to when the comic came out, and the writers probably just forgot, which means I'm setting this cafe meeting in 2005. Paris 2005. Nyssa and Raish meet for the first time in 60 years. Raish wants Nyssa's help to stop a bat plague that is destroying the Lazarus pits. Nyssa refuses, as he once did to her over 60 years ago when she begged for help. He's a dying man, and every time he finds a suitable location for a pit, Bruce is there to buy up the land and builds over it. Jumping 1 year ahead to 2006, we learn that Nyssa's great-grandson, Lieutenant Captain Vasily Vasilievich Agantov, is killed in an explosion. They mistake him for her husband or brother, and for some reason she is unable to cry, but she does say if someone lives long enough, one can come to feel nothing at all. And at the end of the story, she becomes the new Mara al Ghul after killing Mara al Ghul. I was going to skip over this, but Nyssa kidnaps Talia after making friends with her. At this point, Talia doesn't know they are sisters, and she starts living in an apartment complex next to her, or across to hers, and they become close friends. And she betrays her by, well, injecting her with some thing, and brings her to the Lazarus pit, where she repeatedly kills and resurrects her in order to brainwash her in a ploy to kill Raish. But anyway, for a C-list character, she has a really interesting and tragic backstory. She probably has the best/worst backstory out of any of the Al Ghuls, but she isn't as popular or used very often. She takes a backseat to her more popular sister Talia, and is outshined by Mara al Ghul himself. She is said to be highly skilled in alchemy, as she adjusts the Lazarus pit for her own use. Alright, the 3rd generation of Al Ghuls down, which means we can now move on to the 4th generation, the grandchildren of Mara al Ghul and the children of Talia and Dusan respectively. Let's talk about Dusan al Ghul's daughter, someone who actually carries the Al Ghul name. Mara al Ghul is a relatively new character comic book wise, only making her debut in the last pages. of Rebirth era comic Teen Titans Volume 6 Issue 1 in December 2016. She was created by duo Benjamin Percy and John Boy Meyers. As of the making of this, she is only logged to have 12 appearances on DC Fandom and 14 via Comic Vine. Her sophomore appearance, where she actually appears and doesn't just make a cameo, is in issue 2. Mara al Ghul, the good man that he is, has a strike force within the League called the Demon's Fist, made up of kids and teens led by Mara. They have been taken, or as Raish puts it, rescued, and pretty much brainwashed by Raish. All they know is the assassin's life, which means violence and death. But let's start at the beginning, and by the beginning I mean chronologically, cause we now move on to issue 3, where we get a very insightful flashback. We start in the Black Citadel on Infinity Island, a League stronghold, as we see a very young Damian sword fighting his cousin Mara. This is Raish we are talking about. Nobody is really going to have an ideal childhood. They are raised to be assassins and weapons. But anyway, Mara envies Damian because he is simply the best. Damian was the original leader of the Demon's Fist, and Mara believes she should be the leader. So she challenges Damian to a duel. If she wins, she gets to lead the Demon's Fist. Damian obviously wins. The boy is a beast, but he humiliates Mara by dissing her father Dusan al Ghul, saying he was banished and wasn't a leader, and nor will she ever be. She and her family are failures. Mara, being a sore loser, then throws a dagger at Damian, making her a backstabber literally. I mean, she doesn't hit him because she can't aim, but Damian grabs the knife out of the air before returning to sender, which ends up slicing the right eye of his favorite cousin. He then proceeds to roast her as he tells her that every time she looks in the mirror, she will be reminded that he will always be better than her. The next time we see her, she and the Demon's Fist are attacking the Bird Cave, an island off the coast of San Francisco. After Damian left the League of the Demon's Fist, they needed a new leader and Mara got it. The reason Mara is after Damian is because she really hates him, or rather what he is and what he did. He was handed the League of Assassins and walked away. Her team even mentions that she is pretty much the same as Damian, something I picked up on myself. Yes, I'm smart. But yeah, they have many similarities. After they attack the cave, the Teen Titans escape, and Damian being Damian, he leaves to Infinity Island to give himself up to save the Teen Titans. Shortly after, Mara shows up and she lets her feelings known. She wants to see Damian's organs on the outside of his body and his throat not closed. Damian challenges her. If he wins, the hunt for the Teen Titans is off. And should he lose, well, she gets what she wants. Him not alive, and knowing she is worthy to inherit the League. Even Raish is happy to let the fight go on because he wants to see who the best actually is. It doesn't go much better this time either, as Damian pounds his cousin over and over, though she seems to be taking the pounding well as she is keeping up. But Damian is just better. His only mistake was to let her live and turn his back, as she is a well-known backstabber, as he got to know firsthand. And this time she manages to hit him, making him lose consciousness. Oh yeah, it needs to be said that the Demon's Fist are not only fully fledged members of the League. Each member has to choose a target to assassinate, and only then will they be initiated to the League. I wonder why they would choose such difficult targets as the Teen Titans. I would have chosen something slightly less complicated. I mean, I kinda feel bad for Mara, cause even Raish is like, how could this happen? The problem she has is that she seeks approval from others. She wants to be seen as good enough, be worthy. Too bad the man she seeks approval of is the demon's head. To him she will always be the daughter of Dusan, the son he despised. A man he cast out for being born different. I think she is a constant reminder of Dusan, a failure in his eyes. He is what Gen Z TikTokers would call projecting his dismay onto her, despite being very capable on her own. Mara al Ghul is skilled in swordsmanship, martial arts, stealth, artistry, and knife throwing. The last person on my list is the one and only Damian Wayne, who debuted as an infant in Batman Son of the Demon in December 1987. I did not know that he was such an old character. Now that I think about it, a lot of comics I've talked about keep showing up again and again. There's not a lot to talk about here, considering he only shows up in the very last page as a newborn, so I'm going to talk about how he was conceived. So remember how we talked about Melisande al Ghul and how she was pushed into Lazarus pit by Quain, aka Quinlan? Ra's basically proposes an alliance with Batman to stop Quain on one condition: Batman has to marry Talia, and he agrees. It needs to be said that at this point Talia already has feelings for Batman and calls him beloved, as well as knowing his secret identity. It's not like he's marrying a woman against her will or anything like that. But yeah, Batman also has feelings for her, so it's a win-win really. I mean, damn, this is the closest I have ever seen Batman to simping. But hey, at least he is with his true love. No, not that fraud. This lovely woman. I mean, they were kind of unofficially married already, as Ra's married them at some point in the past in an attempt to keep Batman from interfering with his plans. And in Ra's country, only the consent of the bride is required for marriage, which seems slightly dangerous. Tell me again how Talia isn't the perfect woman for Batman. She literally has a huge bedroom which she saved for Batman, and him alone. I mean, frick, just look at her. Okay, focus. FYI, this isn't the story where Talia drugs Batman. No. This is all consensual, the way we like to see it. When Talia announces she is pregnant, Batman is super happy. Even Ra's is happy, if it means her daughter's happiness. Batman has even prepared names: Thomas or Martha, depending on the gender. He even goes as far to say that he has never been happy, and he gives her a beautiful necklace. Later, when Talia lies about having a miscarriage, Batman looks like a defeated man. He wants to be there for her, but she pushes him away. He tries to come back, but to no avail. Even Commissioner Gordon noticed how down and out Batman is. Alright, let's move on from this to his Damian al Ghul debut, cause he was never actually called Damian in this story. He will not make his Damian appearance until September 2006 in Batman Volume 1, issue 655. He again doesn't show up until the last pages. Alright, here is the Al Ghul family tree shown for you visual learners. So here I just included literally everyone, and some of them are not Al Ghuls, they are just related to some of Ghuls, like married to the Al Ghuls. I don't know if you can see it, but this is the first version I created. Next up we have a more condensed version of the Al Ghul family tree. As you can see here, you can actually see it. I removed the parents of Dusan al Ghul and Nyssa Raatko because we don't know who they actually are. So for this sake, they only have one parent, which is Ra's al Ghul. And as you can see, Nyssa Raatko did marry Alexander, so he is still on there. They have a daughter named Hannah, so she's on there. And Daniel Raatko, we don't know who his father is also, so he only has one parent on this visual Al Ghul family tree. And as you can see here, Damian Wayne is locked to have two parents. Obviously, we know that Talia al Ghul and Bruce Wayne conceived Damian Wayne. However, Bruce Wayne and Talia are not married, but I still put him on this version 2 family tree. And obviously, previously in the video, Bruce and Talia did get married, but that is not the continuity that I'm talking about. I'm talking about the actual continuity where Damian Wayne became Robin, and in that continuity, they are not married. So this is the definitive version of the Al Ghul family tree, and the last one that I'm gonna show you. So let's talk about it. First off, we have the first generation of Al Ghuls, which are Ru al Ghul and the Sensei, parents of Ra's al Ghul. Then the second generation of Al Ghuls, we have obviously Ra's al Ghul, the most famous Al Ghul, and he had a wife named Sora, his first wife that didn't have any kids that we know of, so she's just there. He had an unnamed wife, and we don't know anything about her. Next up we have Melisande al Ghul, the only wife to actually carry the Al Ghul name, and obviously, as we know, her and Ra's would have a child. The third generation of Al Ghuls, starting with Dusan al Ghul. We don't know his mother, and previously in the story we talked about how Ra's just had a child with a woman to create an alliance with them. Next up we have Nyssa Raatko. We don't know her mother either, but we do know that she is Russian. And the youngest of them all, Talia al Ghul. Obviously we know her mother is Melisande al Ghul. Now to the fourth generation of Al Ghuls. We got Mara al Ghul, the daughter of Dusan al Ghul. We don't know her mother either. We never learn about her at all. And then we have Damian Wayne. We know his mother is Talia al Ghul and his father is Bruce Wayne. So let's go over it quickly again. The first generation of Al Ghuls, we have Mara al Ghul and the Sensei. The second generation, we have Nyssa al Ghul. His wives were Sora, an unnamed wife, and Melisande al Ghul. The third generation of Al Ghuls, we have Dusan al Ghul, the oldest, Nyssa Raatko, and Talia al Ghul, the youngest, none of which are full siblings. The fourth generation of Al Ghuls, we have Mara al Ghul and Damian Wayne, daughters of Dusan al Ghul and Talia al Ghul respectively, making them cousins. If you have made it this far into the video, I would like to thank you so very much. This video is by far the longest video that I ever made that is non-gaming related. This script I wrote back in September 2023 and now I have finally been able to actually make the video. It has been a long process from writing the script to sourcing all of the pictures to of course editing the video. If you're here at the end of the video, that means you have enjoyed it. So don't forget to leave a like, subscribe to see more of the JustPhantomComics YouTube channel, and again, thank you so much for watching.
On what path can Mara al Ghul offer?
The path of a man who shares his hatred of evil and wishes to serve true justice. The path of the League of Shadows.